What's up, guys? Today I'm working on my 80 series Land Cruiser, my beautiful FJ80, and I'm working on an issue with my shifter knob on my Land Cruiser. It moves around a little too much when I'm driving, and it's a little frustrating. So let's get started. I'm going to show you what I'm looking at. I usually like to rest my hand on the shifter knob, and what happens is when I'm in drive, it'll move between neutral, drive, and 3 very freely, very easily, and I really don't like that because there's been a couple times where I'm driving on the freeway or I'm taking a turn and it shifts out of drive and it goes into neutral, or it shifts out of drive and it goes into 3, and I just don't think it's safe, and I don't think that this is normal. And so you can see here how easily it just moves between the 3 different positions on the shifter, and it's moving like that on my transmission as well. And sometimes I don't even see if it's actually in drive or in neutral because it doesn't really click. And so after doing a lot of research and trying to figure this out, I finally found an answer online. There's no videos on this. There's just one comment on a forum that led me to find this. So I'm going to show you exactly how to fix it yourself if you're having this issue. And really quick before we get started, if you're new to me or you're new to the channel, I make videos on my 80 series Land Cruiser. All right, I have an 80 series Land Cruiser that I'm getting back up to speed. It was neglected for a little bit. I have a ton of videos that I've made in the past and more videos to come. And on the free time that I have, because just like everybody else, I have a full-time job, I make some videos for you guys to enjoy, and hopefully you guys learn something as well. But it would be really helpful if you hit that like and subscribe, because that helps me going. That did not make sense. That helps me keep going. So anyways, let's get started. All right, so we're going to get started on the passenger side of the vehicle, and we're going to get right under here. And directly on the passenger side, we're going to look straight up, and we're going to see the transmission belly pan. And what you'll see here is like a cover at the bottom of a pan right here. You see that right here. That's the transmission belly pan, and over here is the transmission. And right here, what I'm grabbing is the drive shaft, the front drive shaft. So right above that, you're going to see a linkage, like a metal bar that connects the transmission to where the shifter is. You see this right here? That's what it is. And so you see how much play there is right here? That means that the bushing is shot. It's bad. It needs to be replaced. There shouldn't be that much play. And we're going to look over there, and we're going to notice that bushing right here is also pretty shot. It looks pretty dried up, so we're going to have to replace both of them. And you can see there's plenty of play there. This is what's causing our issue, right? There's so much play that when I move it around, it moves it a little extra. And just giving that extra move is what moves it from drive to neutral to 3 and back and forth. And check this out. I'm loosening it up with my hand, and I can loosen it up just by hand. So this clearly needs to be adjusted and fixed. And I'm going to show you what the part looks like that you need to be replacing. So here are the bushings here, the rubber bushings. I've ordered 2 of them. They're actually fairly cheap. I think they only cost me like $3 each. The shipping was the most expensive thing. You're going to need a 12 millimeter, a little wrench, and a pair of pliers. And that's basically all you'll need for this repair. And really quick, before we continue, I want to make sure that we understand something very clearly. If you are going to be doing this repair, you need to put blocks or something to stop the tires from the back of your wheels on all 4 of them. You need to put some blocks there. And you also do not want to do this on a driveway, and you want to put your e-brake on. This is very important, and the reason why is because when you're moving this around, or when you're tightening the shifter on the transmission, it could move around and it could go into neutral and start going in reverse. And if you're under the vehicle while you accidentally moved it into neutral because you're actually moving the shifter on the transmission, it could cause a very serious accident. So you have to be very careful when doing this. I want to make that very clear. So let's continue. All right, with that out of the way, let's proceed with the repair. So what I'm going to suggest is you marking exactly where that shift linkage is connected to the the transmission shifter. Okay, this is going to be very important because it might move around, and so you want to have it exactly where it was before, right in park. You don't want it in neutral, you don't want it in drive, you want it in park, because if you try to turn on the car, it's not going to turn on if it's not in park. So mark this before you take it off. I didn't mark it, and I had to learn the hard way, but you should mark it because it's going to be a lot easier. So I've taken off the 12mm bolt and the 2 washers that were with it, and you'll notice here that there's a ton of play, right? On the other side of this, you'll see that there's a little pin, and that pin is held on by sort of like a hook. So you're gonna need some pliers, and you're gonna need to pull that. I'm gonna show you how I kind of did it here. I grabbed my pliers and I reached behind there, and I just kind of hooked it and twisted and pulled it. And I'm gonna show you how it actually looks like here. All right, because it was so hard to see, I wanted to show you how it looked, right? So this is the little bushing here, and right here is the little pin that was connected, and you have to basically twist to move that little hook that hooks onto it and pull, and that's how you'll get it off. All right, now that we've shown you how to take that off, what you'll notice is you'll still have the bushing in there, and this is what we're replacing. It's just this little rubber part. So I'm gonna grab my pliers and I'm gonna push up, and it's gonna come right out. And we see here the old one and the new one here, and we see the difference, right? The new one is just a little thicker. It has enough to avoid that play that we had on with the old one. So with this one, it'll be a lot better. All right, so we're also going to replace the bushing right over there. We can see it here. That is where the shifter is, and I think that this one also has play, as we can see here. It's also moving, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to get some longer pliers for this, but I'm also going to get a magnetic reach tool, because basically I'm just going to pull that the same way that I pulled the other one. But we see that there's a washer there, and we don't want to lose that. All right, so I was able to pull off that pin, and I'm super glad that I went and picked up my magnetic reach tool, because look at that. I was able to pick it up. It actually fell way behind there, and I actually thought that I lost it. But thanks to my magnetic reach tool, I just kind of tossed it back there and moved it around, and I was able to pick it up really quickly. So definitely recommend that for this right here. So we're going to try to take off that bushing over there. All right, this bushing was one of the hardest to take off because it kept like deteriorating, but take your time on this and just kind of pull it off little by little, and you should be fine. You can see here that I put in the new bushing already. So now what we're going to do is we're going to put back the linkage, and this is going to be a little tricky because the linkage just needs a pin and a washer, right? So I'm going to use my magnetic reach tool to kind of help me because it's kind of far away. But as you can see, we're going to have a washer here on this end, and then we're going to have a washer on the other end, and then we're going to put the little pin in right through that hole right there. So it's pretty straightforward. It's just a little difficult. All right, so I have everything back together like it should be. I have my washer on one side and the washer at the end, and then the pin. This part is pretty time consuming. You have to be very patient with this because it's hard to take out the bushing, and then it's also hard to put it all back together. So it's simple, but it can be time consuming and a little stressful if you can't figure it out. So just be patient with that. All right, now that we have the shifter linkage connected, now it's time to connect it back to the transmission. And like I mentioned before, you want to have it in the right position. You want the transmission to be shifted in the park position where it was originally, or else you're not going to be able to start your vehicle. So we're going to put this back like we had it before. We're going to have a bolt at the end, and then we're also going to have 2 washers. And obviously, you're going to put this part right here back the way you found it originally, right? And so you can see here that this was actually should be shifted down this way where it was originally. Now, like I said before, this is very, very, very important. You need to have blocks on your tires to prevent it from moving backwards, and you do not want to have this on a hill, and you want to have your e-brake on, because if you do that, if you shift it and you shift it into neutral or you shift it into another gear, it could start moving forward or backward depending on where you're at, and it could run you over. So be very, very careful. I cannot stress enough, I don't want you guys to get hurt. I don't want anybody to get hurt. And now that we have it back in its correct position, I'm just going to use my 12mm here, and then we're just going to tighten it up really quick and we should be good to go. All right, one last thing, guys. If you're trying to turn it on and it won't turn on anymore, that is because you probably didn't put it back in park. So you'll have to shift the transmission into park if you accidentally moved it around. So just keep that in mind. You'll have to go back under there and move that into the right position. That's why I said you need to mark it. This is what happened to me. I didn't mark it, and so I was having trouble turning it on. All right, after a couple weeks of driving in this thing, I can say for sure that it did fix my issue here. We could see here that I am in drive, and I'll move this around, and I'll put plenty of pressure, and it's not moving around like it used to, and my issue has been resolved. So if you're having this issue on your Land Cruiser, you might want to check your shifting linkage and see if those bushings are shot, and that'll help you out. And as always, guys, at the end of my video I give you a good tip for the repair, so here it is. Now, I've recommended this in other videos of mine, but if you don't have long pliers or a little hook like this, it's going to be really hard to take off those bushings, because some of these bushings are super dried up, and so they just start breaking and you can't really pull them off with the pliers. So with this hook, I was able to kind of pick around it and pull it and get it to come out, and then with the pliers I was able to completely remove the rest of it. So just keep that in mind. And that's it for the video today, guys. I hope that was helpful. I hope it was informative, and I hope if you're having this issue, it's a simple way to resolve it. Thanks for watching, and as always, if you like my other videos, if you like my video today, please consider subscribing. It helps me out a lot. Thank you.